All right, hey YouTube, how you doing? It's Max again. I just finished recording the Barrows like game where you go into the Old Maid tombs and you kill them to get the chest at the you can see the last video. It's Old Maid burial grounds or something. In this one, I'm gonna showcase another kind of mini game that we have. This one is more like I'd call it like a stealth mini game. It's based off of Sorcerer's Garden in RuneScape. Um, yeah, I'll just get right into it. So pretty much, if you go to Doriconia, there's this house up here. I'm gonna work on this NPC, probably give them like a backstory or something. Um, but pretty much she teleports you here. If you want to talk to her, she can give you, chest counts, how many times you've completed each one. I think the purpose of this minigame is going to be kind of like an early game moneymaker. So just something that you can complete over and over again to just make money without having to fight things. Um, there's just showing you what happens when you get hit by one of these boulders. Pretty much you just get really slow and then you get teleported back to the beginning of the maze. So I'm gonna go. I'll actually give you a little tour. So similar to Sorcerer's Garden and RuneScape, there's 4 of them, and I think they're based off difficulty. In RuneScape, it's based on the seasons. I don't have enough assets to really like build them these based off of seasons per se. So I've got like the grass one, the desert one, the snow one, and then kind of like this like metal stone one up here. So the grass one is probably the easiest one. We'll go in order of difficulty, and this is pretty much just based off of my thoughts of which ones are the easiest or up until the hardest ones. This one, these boulders are not really placed very strategically. It's just kind of like to get you used to the mechanics of the game. So pretty much you can just walk right by them all and then get to the treasure chest, and you get 250 gold for completing this first one. So if you it would take you, so it's pretty much 250 gold, 500, 750, and 1000 gold. So if you feel confident in this harder one up here, you can make more money per hour if you grind that one. I don't know how much I'm gonna have money be a factor in the game, but I don't know. So these I guess rewards are prone to change. Um, but pretty much this one, that part I just went is probably the only complicated part in this one. You have to watch multiple boulders at a time in that one area, but other than that, it's still fairly easy. So slightly more difficult than the first one, I think, but still pretty easy. The snow one, I think, can get a little bit complicated in some areas, but still overall not too difficult. Like I could definitely see someone grinding out all of these ones without like really thinking too hard about them. But the only interesting is that this boulder that's right to my south, it moves diagonal sometimes. So there's like that, and then the boulder in the top right corner has a very small area, so you have to be kind of quick. And these boulders can kind of layer up sometimes. So, but overall, still not too difficult. Again, the purpose of these puzzles isn't really to stump the player too much. It's just kind of like to give your brain a little bit of an exercise, and just like a way to get consistent money and feeling pretty, uh, you know, uh, I guess just something mechanics driven. Since this is mostly a turn-based game, um, but yeah. Yeah, so I think this one is a little bit tricky at some points, but still pretty manageable. I'll go through this top one again because just to kind of explain the mechanics of that one a little bit more. So some of these boulders will go on like these like figure eights, infinity sign kind of motions. If you take a look at them, these two boulders here at the top, one circles the central fence while the other one goes all the way around. And then these two boulders both go in like zigzags. So sometimes they will layer up on top of each other. So you just kind of have to like pay attention a little bit on how it's going. And then these three up here have really like wonky mechanics that are kind of difficult to explain. One of them just kind of circles the outside, while the bottom one kind of does like multiple figure eights, snaking up and down those four pillars, and then this other one in the top, that one's kind of doing these like weird circles around each of the pillars, kind of in a counterclockwise motion. So it's just a lot to kind of like it's not like a lot to think about, but it's like something to think about, since it kind of looks like they're going in like seemingly random areas that could throw a player off if they're not expecting it. So that's why I think this one's the most difficult. Um, but yeah, we'll go ahead and try to do that again, and then you'll see at the end I'll talk to the person again, and they'll give you like a little kill count of how many times you've completed them. So something else, done that one twice, whereas the east one I've only done that one once. So that's kind of that. I will go into like a little bit of the mechanics behind this because I did mess this up originally. Um, I guess so. What you can do is you can set the trigger on these boulder things to either parallel, or you can set it to player touch. And originally I had it set to player touch, thinking that if the player touches the boulder, then it will trigger. But the thing is, sometimes you'll clip right through it, especially if you are standing still. I wish I still had like one of these boulders uh, at what it used to be like, so you could like see the difference, the side by side comparison. But pretty much like there was like this kind of glitch where like if you just stood still when it was set to player touch, it like wouldn't trigger. You had to have been like moving recently in order to trigger it. But if you set it to parallel and you set you create these variables. Some of them are tracking the player's x and y's coordinates, and the other variables are tracking the this event uh, placeholder, this event's x and y coordinates. And the reason why I did this event instead of like Dark Ball 6 or whatever is just so you can copy and paste it more efficiently. So we'll track this event. So pretty much if the x player, the coordinate, the x coordinate of the player is equal to the x coordinate of this event, and if the player's y coordinate is also equal to this um, event's y coordinate, then that's pretty much the same thing as player touching, but it's more of like a hard check, if that makes sense. Whereas player touching, it seems like that just doesn't like check um, as well as this. So um, there isn't really any clipping. The player slows down once this triggers, so the player can't. I guess you could make it like halt immediately, but I kind of like how the player just kind of goes into like a crawling speed, and then it kind of flashes the screen, does like the little sound effects and the animations, fades the screen out, and then it teleports you back to the start. Waits some time and fades back in. So I don't know. I think this is a cool mini game in RuneScape. Sorcerer's Garden got you these like squirt juices or something, and I don't even really remember what they did. I think what people would actually go here and do was go pick an herb plant. It was like a way to get herbs, but it's just a very inefficient way to get money, I guess, in RuneScape. So especially nowadays with all the stuff. So I like the idea of just like this being like a thing for new players, who can just come here, kind of like the Stronghold of Security, and just kind of grind money until they have uh, a little bit of a bank to play around with and do more parts of the game that require money. And when I like watch like RuneScape, kind of people playing RuneScape and stuff, they tend to go rush an activity like this. Like I think I said, agility pyramid or stronghold of security. It's just one of those things that, especially when I was playing RuneScape, I think it was cool when a friend tells you, "Oh, do you remember the stronghold of security? That's where you can get some quick cash." So well, it might be kind of like a broken mechanic, so to say. I do kind of, I think it's like kind of charming in a way to have these kinds of things, um, especially when it's called like a secret garden. I think it's like kind of it rewards players for going into, obscure buildings like this one that are just like one in you know, isolated building in a city. I just think that's like kind of interesting. I also really like I might add some water in this town, um, but it's interesting because I guess I'll talk a little bit about Doriconia in this video, um, since we're on the subject. But I think this part of this inspiration is also coming from the movie Pokemon Heroes. Um, if you've seen that movie, it's the one with Latios and Latias, and it's like they're in this city called Altamar, and it's kind of based off Venice, and I think that was the original kind of like vision of Doriconia, although based on the map, we're not really close to water, so I was like, maybe there shouldn't be like it shouldn't be a canal city. But we're in the mountains. Maybe I'll put in some rivers and stuff like that. I really like that kind of the music in Pokemon Heroes. And there's this kind of like plot point where they go into a secret garden. And so I thought that that kind of aesthetic kind of is why I put this in Doriconia, because that kind of captures a little bit of what the fantasy, I guess you could say, of what I wanted, and also the, I guess the secret sorcerer's garden in RuneScape. I really like that, like kind of mini game. I think it's kind of nostalgic, so I wanted to incorporate that into this game as well. In terms of other projects, um, I think going. I don't know if I'm going to do it today because it's kind of getting late in the day, and I kind of want to just relax for the rest of the day. I feel like I've been kind of grinding this a bit much, but I do want to create like a fight pits like in RuneScape with Jad. So I'm gonna do that in Nova Lock, I think, because this was going to be the volcano area. Again, due to limited assets, this is water instead of lava. But maybe I'll, figure a way around that. But I was thinking about like this cave right here. This would be like the pits kind of dungeon, and that's kind of like where you do a lot of waves. So I think in RuneScape it's like 63 waves to get to Jad or something. I don't think I'm gonna do 63 waves, but definitely that kind of like a challenge, like a gauntlet kind of challenge. The first game I ever uploaded to itch was actually a wave-based game. Um, so I'll probably just like borrow some of those that code, or at least take a look at it since it's been a couple of years since I've really uh, seen it, I guess, worked on anything like it. But I think that will probably be one of the next projects I do because that is another kind of nostalgic thing that I think like RuneScape did really well. And I think as I'm playing or making this, I think in the original scope I was like maybe I'll make it like Pokemon with collecting the 8 badges. But I think the more I program this game, the more I want it to kind of feel like RuneScape when you first played it, I guess. So that's kind of why we had the tutorial island, we got the barrows, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think that's good for this one. We'll see if I actually get around to making this. But yeah, I'm just gonna go take a break and maybe figure out what I'm doing for dinner. But yeah, hope you have a good day. I'll see you later.